For chapter 6, it was like mentioning how you have to essentially find the right fit for each individual job and like each individual person. And so essentially it goes out in the beginning, it's like you need to help each person find the right fit for the job. And I highlighted this at the very beginning because when I did Kevin Parker's leadership class, I think he did a very good job of like mentioning this to like of how Dutch Bros does this, and like if it's really a good fit for them, they like try to find something better for this person. Like what kind of job would they rather be thriving in? Like Kevin Parker like mentioned an example of that, and like it kind of stuck with me in a way. Is like just because like this job that you want may not be the right fit doesn't mean like you don't have like success anywhere else. And so I think that finding success like where you're actually meant to find success, I think is really important. And so essentially like it goes like you need to like climb up in the job. Like you can't just be stuck in like doing the same thing forever if you're not growing and not thriving in it. And so essentially like that stuck out to me about the first one. And then I think that like a big part of like this chapter was essentially just being able to create like just like a success in each role, and just like each role is its own individual piece for a reason. Like you like if I'm going like into Dutch Bros, like each person is a barista first. Like each person is always going to start there no matter what position they have. Like they always have to start there, and that role is super important. But then they go in 6 months and they can apply for shift lead, which is also equally as important, but like in a different way. And I think that like the step up the ladder, like it is really important for me to be a barista right now. And I think that like it's also really important for my friend Sarah to be a shift lead right now. Like I think that in each job, like your success needs to be defined within. And I think that was like really what like stuck out to me about this chapter, because like every single place in the world just like believes that higher is better. And I think in a way like yes and no, because I definitely do think that I'm like, yes, like if you're higher up you're better, but also like there's a way where you can be higher but your mental health is not higher. And so I think that like really just knowing where you are and the position you're in, like yes, every single person wants to move up in the world because this like standard is pretty much set by people from all over. But I think this like does a good job of being like, if you really want like your people not to have this motivation of like, oh, I just need to move, just like really have a motivation of like my job is important for like the reason that it's given to me. Like if you define that role as a manager, like every single person should feel important in the job that they're in. I think this was a cool example because since I'm a barista, like it's easy like to like, it's not always easy to compare it to like some like of the huge like business like roles or like something like this, but they were saying that one of the bartenders, which I'm not a bartender obviously, but it's like not the names of the regulars, but all like not only the names of the regulars but also their drink along with it. And then they designed the program called the 100 Club, and if you knew like 100 regulars' names and with along their drinks, like you would be awarded. And I think this was like a cool thing because like especially at Dutch Bros we remember people's like names and their regular drink like all the time. And so like I've never even thought to like have a reward based off of this, but I think it would be a cool example of like someone who's like really not doing that. I think that especially in Dutch Bros we like give it as like it's not our main reason that we're there for the customer, but it's an extra when you come like to Dutch. Like we want you to feel valued and remembered like when you come by. And so I think that like a cool incentive, like if people weren't doing that, is to like to create this like 100 Club or something like that, like in a way where like if you do remember these people and these things, like you'll get a reward off of it, because like the humankind really just strives off of a competition. And I think this is like a cool way to like value it and keep going with this. I highlighted this section saying like each manager should provide alternate routes towards growth and prestige, just because one way is not ever the correct way. Like it sometimes is the correct way, but like not always the correct way to do it, because every single person is their own unique person. And so just like each single person is trying to create their own best self in each role, and each person will do that differently because each person is their own self. And so I think just like being able to like know that each person will be different within the unique like role that you give them, and knowing that they will do their best in that role, I think is really like, it brings confidence in a business. Essentially it goes through examples, but what really like made me think in this was like a self-discovery method, and like it was saying that you need to sit down and essentially like, what do you love in the week, and is that aligning with like what you're gonna do in your career or like in the future? And so essentially like I sit down and I look and I'm like, I hate school, like I really don't want to do school, but I do school, but like I really look forward to going to work. Like I love being with people and I love talking to people and I love like the environment that I have at work, and I work there for a reason. But I think that like when like you look, like I've had jobs that I really don't like going to, and I think essentially like it comes down to like, if I'm like, should I continue? And I think that like obviously like I'm continuing school, but that's because it's a bigger thing than just like a job. But like really looking down to it, like at school, like I do have these things, like I have people that I love seeing each day in my classes. Like I have like I love the campus and I really like looking at the trees around campus. Like I have things like this, like that, like really like motivate me to bring me up. Like something I don't like doing is waking up early. And so essentially like waking up early, I don't like sitting at a desk. I'm not that kind of person. And so like essentially like looking at these things like, oh, okay, I probably shouldn't get a desk job that works 9 to 5, that I'm not allowed to like go and talk to people all the time. There's like things like that. And I think that essentially also with like interviewing people and like aligning them as like what I was gonna do in my like written part of this, like essentially just like seeing like whose practices and who's like what they love to do, like if it aligns. And I think that if it does align, like I think it's a very good and like strong like person that they like are happy that they're going to their job, or they're happy they're doing what they're doing, and like they're happy playing the sport they're playing, like things like this. Like I think it's cool to see like people actually doing good and doing what they want to do in life. And so like essentially through that, like I think I'll gain just like confidence and like also like a new love and a new like look for life, because I do like seeing people succeed and like being like who they truly are. I think next, like it said, like great managers hold up a mirror. Essentially, like I really didn't understand this at first, but when like someone holds up a mirror and like points it right back at me, it's like, oh, okay, like they're essentially saying like, what am I doing well? They're like praising me for what I'm doing good. And giving me like feedback on like how my job is. And so I think that like a manager shouldn't be just someone who just sits there as a blank wall and like doesn't ever give you feedback, because like I look in the mirror and like, oh, my hair's like, oh my gosh, it's messed up. Like if I look at my manager, I don't want them to literally just see something completely wrong on me and just completely ignore it, because that's not ever creating a sense of like good environment and like good growth. And so I think that like looking into someone who can give me feedback in a new lens, I think is a very good like opportunity. And I think that was a cool way to see it, because like it goes into like saying that like their feedback was constant, and like each session began with a brief review of past performance, and then the focus like shifted to how the future. And so like just like creating like a feedback and like able to just like push someone to be their better self, I think is like a really strong point for a manager. And if you don't have that kind of manager, like why are they managing? Like it's just hard to be, like I said, like it's hard to look at like a brick wall and like get no like advice or anything back. And so I think it was cool to see this. And then just like going towards this, it's like the art of tough love was like the end of this chapter. And essentially like it's hard to give hard advice, and it will be, and it always will be. But I think it was like a good reminder that like just because it's tough doesn't mean it's not valuable. And like really with that is like, essentially it might be hard to hear and it might be hard to do, but like if it really like benefits either the person, the job, or you, like I really think that like it is meant to be a good conversation. And you can take this honestly into anything, like with a job, like if you're firing someone, like yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough on you and it's gonna be tough on the person. And I think that like just being able to have the relationship and being in a good place to essentially like grow from that and like not be in like a place of just like anger is a part of growth. And so I think it's always gonna be hard to like give like tough love, and I think just like where people find their joy is really like where you need to focus on. And I like essentially like setting someone up for success is essentially going to be the best way to go. And so ending with the tough love in this chapter of just like being a good manager and like giving advice, sometimes advice is going to be hard, and just like knowing that I think can put you in a very strong place. And I think that like I really appreciate this chapter because of that.